Hi, this is Jane, and I'm going to skip around a little. This episode, we had 7 hosts, and we talked about multiple topics, but mainly we talked about what happened in the wet market in China during the time that the Wuhan virus had an outbreak containing animal connections with humans and things of that nature. Please direct yourself to the show where the information will be.
A lot of the viruses that make us sick actually originate in animals. Some of the viruses that cause the flu come from pigs. HIV/AIDS comes from chimpanzees. The deadly Ebola virus likely originates in bats. And in the case of the 2019 coronavirus, there's some evidence it went from a bat to a pangolin before infecting a human. While viruses are very good at jumping between species, it's rare for a deadly one to make this journey all the way to human. That's because it would need all these hosts to encounter each other at some point. That's where the Wuhan market comes in. It's a wet market. A kind of place where live animals are slaughtered and sold for consumption.
It was not surprised at all, and I think that it was not surprised to many scientists.
Peter Lee is professor and expert on China's animal trade.
The cases that one over another. Animals at the bottom were about to research with all kinds of secret animal proteins, parts, blood, water, and characteristics from the animals.
That's exactly how a virus can jump from one animal to another. If that animal then comes in contact with or is consumed by a human, the virus could potentially infect them. And if the virus then spreads to other humans, it causes an outbreak. Wet markets are scattered all over the world, but the ones in China are particularly well known because they offer a wide variety of animals, including wildlife.
Play the rest of the video later in the show because we have people on the air already. So what they were trying to say basically is that in Wuhan, China, in the Hunan market, Huaman, pets, and they also have regular pets, like roosters and chickens. And I did actually see where they breed large animals too, like bears and tigers. And certain elite people in China and around the world eat parts of these exotic animals like bears, and they think that it gives them powerful energy. Well, the conditions, if you saw the visualization of the video I just watched, was terrible. There's like bears in these cages that they can barely fit in. There's chickens on top of each other, and like they said, the pus and blood and urine filter down. It's disgusting. They eat ducks, like, regular ducks you see in the pond in the U.S., and it's like, that could be the scientific reason. But I do have a friend coming on the air Thursday night, and he claims that there were U.S. military exercises near China with some other European countries, and also the monetary system being turned upside down, which hasn't been recalibrated since 1970, since Nixon took us off the gold standard. That could be another reason that China's angry. And plus, also, we have to mention Donald Trump's trade policy. So with that, I'm going to bring in Dave first. And then I'll bring in John. Hi, Dave. Can you hear me okay? And did you hear the video?
I couldn't quite catch all the audio of the video very well, but I think I got...
Go ahead.
So,
Go ahead.
I haven't
So
really...
I wanted to tell you and John something. I'm in a group home where the AT&T cell towers are lousy. So if at any point you can't hear me, you need to let me know right away.
Okay. Whatever precautions that they can take with this, while still, being mission ready. So it's a little different with the military as opposed to cancellations here, like in Duluth or, where other people are calling in for their living, as far as like, what they're experiencing as far as like the grocery store or restaurants or other businesses or social gatherings and things like that. It's going to be a little different.
Well, in Los Angeles, it's pretty rough because I have a friend who lives in the heart of Los Angeles, maybe like 5 miles west of downtown, and you can get to the store at 4 in the morning, and let's say they open at 7, and there'll be 100 people in line for 3 hours before the store even opens. So maybe John's on the air right now, and Don will be calling in. John, since you work in the 99 cent store, you probably get most of your needs met. But have you driven by Ralph's or John's in the morning, or one of those type of places, and seen what's going on?
Absolutely. In fact, I was going to take a picture of it. Driving by Trader Joe's, you see people around the block, 6 to 10 feet away from each other, living under the dread of the zombie apocalypse that's upon us. And it's good to talk to you today, Jane Hammerstorm. The storm is upon us.
Are you trying to say that like they're standing in line and they're literally 6 feet apart?
Yes, and if you go by the Starbucks, depending on what time of day, one time I had to go to work at 1:30 in the afternoon, normally 5 p.m., but they've been flipping me like a hamburger at a fast grill. And there was the Starbucks line of cars was all the way around the block, and I'm thinking they're going to wait 45 minutes in line for something that they could make in 5 minutes at home. But I thought, maybe it's their social interaction. Just a quickie, kind of on the background on the bat situation, normally not so transferable, this strain. However, if you modify it, then it becomes very contagious. Now, here's an incredible backstory. And I've talked a little bit about this in the past, but I wasn't able to connect the dots until half an hour ago. Charles Lieber, who worked at the Wuhan University of Technology, WUT, in China. He was a chief strategist and chair at the Department of Chemistry and Chemical Biology. He worked at Harvard University. He was arrested about a month ago with 2 Chinese nationals. One was Yangqing Yi, and the other was Zhao Zhen, and they were trying to smuggle, the nationals were trying to smuggle 21 vials of stem cell and other research. Now, here's the angle, is that in Wuhan, you've got the first biosafety level 4 lab started in 2015. So in this 30-minute circle, you've got the biosafety lab, which is the Institute of Virology. You've got the Huanan seafood fishery wholesale markets there, and you've got the residential. So it's all this big loop. And so basically, they got arrested for trying to smuggle and send biotech information to China. Now, China, what's interesting about them is that they, of course, they hate the tariffs. They hate Donald Trump. So what this really battles, if you look at it from one angle, is the strength of Trump was his rallies, right? The economy, the employment rate, and what's been the biggest victims? Wall Street decimated, right? A third of it gone. No one is working. When you talk about employment, nobody's working except essential services. What about
I just need to interrupt you a minute. Don's on the air, and I have a question. The SARS virus of 2002 started through a similar wet market, and it only killed 777 people worldwide. And I was alive at that time, and there was no travel restrictions and life restrictions. And question to you is, why do you think Donald Trump, you said something very strange today? yes, he's worried about the economy, but he also said by Easter it's going to clear up because we can't go any farther in this type of restriction. So could you mention that? And Don is on the air at this time.
Well, that's interesting. People who follow QAnon and other such sources, it's not just QAnon, it's open source information. In other words, people are researching things on the internet. The power of QAnon is that you're getting multiple, dozens and hundreds of sources immediately. So you're able to research this stuff, and it's all unclassified information. So it's stuff you and I can both research. The entity, as Q has been stating, there'll be a 30-day window kind of darkness in that will go from darkness to light. Now, that was from March 10th. The 30-day window would end on April 10th. And April 11th is Resurrection, Easter Sunday. So there's a lot of talk that things will come to light. Now, what's very important to realize is this has become a very political thing. As you know, we need the bailout or the stimulus, and they're saying it's going to be about $6 trillion now. And it was ready to go, except at the last moment, Nancy Pelosi came in and added several things. And here are the things that were added: abortion funding, sanctuary cities, amnesty, Kennedy Center, which is for the arts, bail out the Postal Service, early voting, 10,000 bailout for student loans, same-day voter, green emissions codes or standards for the airlines. They need to have a green carbon footprint for every plane flight. $15 minimum
I have
wage.
a question before you get too farther into your theories, because I'm going to let you talk unlimited after Dave hangs up, but he's usually on the air only 30 minutes. I'm deflecting the question to Dave or Don. Do you guys think that not only will the Wuhan problem impede the economy, but it might impede, like John was saying, it could impede the primary voting and the sequence of events that have to take place before the general election? And will that help or hurt Donald Trump? Go ahead, anybody but Don. John can jump back in. I just want to give other people a chance to talk in the beginning.
Well, Dave here. At this point, it looks like it probably wouldn't be the primary process. How it would hurt Trump, I don't know, because of course, he's running unopposed at this point, and of course, right now, you could say the Democrats are as well too, but I don't know if as it gets closer and closer, they're going to make some allowances and to ensure that the whole political process, election process, does still run smoothly. Of course, we've certainly got a recent history of political process being derailed at certain levels, so that still could possibly be that we could have a problem there. But I think as it gets closer and people don't want to get all screwed up, they'll find some way to get around that. But then again, I mean, what could happen between now and
How about like primaries in certain states?
No.
You have to think of the fact, like, okay, let's just do it simple. Like, let's say there's 200 voters in Florida, and 75 of those 200 people are out of work, and they're stressed out about real life issues. Are they going to even want to vote? And Biden and Bernie can't go around making public speeches right now, and a lot of people don't get the same impact of hearing them in real life versus just like a YouTube video. So, like, I just don't. Trump might be at an advantage, John, and Dave, because the momentum of the election is gone now. It's completely gone. Like, people are dealing with life and death issues.
I'm going to cut now to the segment where we have 7 hosts and they are talking more specifically?
Here's my challenge. Here's my challenge. Okay. Here's my challenge to you, Jane.
You're not open.
I will give you
6 months of the year. There was a time when my car was T-boned, and I had to get rides or walk or take the bus for 3 months because my car was totaled, and I didn't have enough money right away to buy a new car. And all the money that went from the insurance company had to go to the loan that I paid for to finish off the loan. So I just felt like John was on his high horse. That's what I felt like. And there was a time when I did walk, and I am going to drive my car. Why wouldn't I drive my car? But if I had, all I was saying to him is, if I had to walk, I would walk to work. Go ahead, Mike.
Yes, yes, I understand what happened a little bit, but let me give you some news information about the corona, of course. Is the headlines. I mean, right now, Kentucky is also added to voluntary isolation, at home, and New York upgraded from the, people to be voluntary, to be, stay at home, to mandatory stay at home, and now they are using also Chinese drones to monitor everything, so people that can, if the people go out, without, they are going to enforce a lot of things. So basically, as I have said many times in your radio show before, you have it, people can go listen to it. I told you martial law is coming to the United States. And this event, which is the world event, and we see Italia right now, the gas stations are closed as a result. Because not only they brought the tanks in the streets in Italy, and we see a mass dying of the people, especially elderly in Italia, and also Middle East, and also South Korea and other countries, Spain, and Germany, and etc. So we know Italia is going to control the whole, to talk full medical martial law. Go ahead, please.
Don, I heard what you said. Which gas stations are closed in which countries?
Italia.
In Italy, because they don't want people moving around?
Exactly. Because they already have the tanks in the street.
The problem with the Italians is as I mentioned, when I was over in Italy, they're dying. They're a dying culture. They're old. They're tired of violence and war that they were seeing for centuries, and they're almost ready to die. They're not as vivacious or as vibrant as they once were. So they have this disdain for this virus, or they have a desire for suicide, some type of disease, suicide by disease. But they are in other countries or in their country, they're being cited. They were one of the first countries to be cited for being out in public. And they have many people who have multiple citations because they just don't care. And that's one of the reasons why they have such a high death rate, because they're not concerned with, any stupid virus.
Yes, and condition in the world is very upset right now, and especially in the United States, we see that all the food stores they have kind of barricaded themselves in the front, so for possible riots whatever it is. And also, we know that medical, if you go to hospitals or doctors, etc., now there are checkpoints, multiple checkpoints until you pass through the main door. And we see they are only allowing a few people at a time. And right now in United States, North America, everything is done by phone or video. They call it video.
I disagree with one of Don's statements. First of all, Don, Italy has always been a huge European crossroads, and just because they're Italians who like to hug doesn't mean they're not on their guard. It's just that the coronavirus hit them much harder and faster. That they didn't have time to recover.
Yeah, well, the thing is, though, it's not about the hugging part. It's about the disdain for governmental orders. That's what it was. They don't.
That's a good point.
They're not supposed to hug. They're not supposed to be in groups more than what they were the first ones to start at 50, I think. And then they weren't supposed to be doing any of those things. They got people who have multiple citations because they disobeyed the law. That's why they have such a high death rate.
Well, I thought that in northern Italy, where a lot of the older people died very fast, they outlawed funerals, and the bodies went straight from the hospital to the crematory, and the government said they couldn't have any funerals.
Right, but why are so many Italians and Spaniards dying?
John's back on the air, the hot-head bicyclist. Just a minute. Okay, John, you're back on the air, you hot-head bicyclist.
I thought I was muted.
No,
You
were muted.
30 seconds. I was going to tell you that I had to walk 3 months in Duluth in the winter because the 18-year-old totaled Lauren in my car on the way to his sister's funeral. And then we had to walk for 3 months and take the bus. So carry your ass up to these 5-foot snowbanks. It happened because God punished me for going to the casino.
No, because it's Donald Trump's fault. That's what you want to hear.
No, it's because it happened in 2015 before Donald Trump was a household name.
Yeah, but he was thinking of running for office. Think about that.
He doesn't control. I don't give Donald Trump that much power in my life. All I know, I was late picking up my son for his sister's funeral, and some asshole 18-year-old T-boned us, totaled our car, and I had to hitch a ride from my roommate to the funeral, and his sister was 21 years old, got shot in the head, and guess what? We had to walk for 3 months. So, you can give me $1,000 for walking for a month, but I'm going to charge you $2,000 if you never show up in Duluth and see how tough life is up here.
Actually, I learned after 2 years in Nebraska, it's ridiculous to live in a place that wants to kill you.
Well, guess what? Minnesota has 3 times the snowbanks in Nebraska. 3 times the cold weather.
I know.
Well, let's have Singapore Mike continue with his Italian discussion.
Yes.
Yes, basically, this coronavirus is not going to be 1 month, 2 months issue. Is going to be 2 years or even more longer issues. And, of course, by locking down, we try to minimize the risk as much as we can. But if reopen the United States, and only hotspots are subject to mandatory or voluntary isolation, then we do not done a good thing for the whole country, because right now 10 million Americans are infected with coronavirus right now, based on the trends confirmed of fatalities. And it takes at least up to 30 days, the total signs are shows and even we say 2% fatality, we are talking about, over 200,000, if I'm right, or maybe 2 million. Okay, we say low end, 200,000 people will die. And we don't have even capacity. I mean, we know Italy right now, the people are sleeping in the floor of the hospitals for treatments because they have no bed, they have no other things to help them. So Italy is paralyzed. So even journalists in Italy, when they have interviewed, or with, I believe it's ABC News, they said that what happened to Italy is coming right at your door in United States. So this, right now we need, I'm very surprised that we are not ready for anything such a magnitude in the United States. How come we have everything for, say, World War III, but for this, the devil virus, which has already...
Because the powers that be did not prepare us for something like this. They didn't think it would happen. The powers that be, as soon as they got into office, one of the first things they cut funding was for the pandemic agency. That was one of the first things that those powers that be cut funding to when they got into office. They didn't think that something like this would happen. They thought we were invincible. But the powers that be now...
How did that create the virus? So you cut funding, or say they tripled the funding. How does that affect people?
We would have
Let me finish the statement. Let me finish that. How does that affect people coming to our country when China knew about it and we didn't, and they walked around and infected all these people, and people came in contact? How would any amount of funding or whoever was in charge, how would that affect that? Every country has this. What country has stopped this thing? How did they know? How could they have done it?
All the countries were all cut off guard on this thing. But we here in America, we would have had ventilators. We had more masks. We would have more some kind of agency or some kind of lab that would have been ready on the spot to start developing a test. Instead, we didn't even have a test we just barely got a test after 2.5 months. We didn't even have a test for this. In other contingencies, we would have had someplace that would have been able to develop some kind of preliminary test, and they would have been able to tell us if hydroxypine or chlorpheniramine would have been a viable vaccine or not. Right now, it's not. And your president is telling us that it has plenty of possibility.
I can only do it 30 minutes.
That's wrong. He's not a doctor.
Yes, indeed. It seems they have inner circle of his regime has a lot of disagreements with him, or even with Anthony Fauci. Fauci says, I have to tell him 4 times until he understands it. It seems, he likes to bail out the corporations first, but people may be second. instead of one time for the history of the United States, they should bail out the people first, and if anything left, they can give it to the corporations. But even he wants to bail out his own corporations, which it doesn't make sense. Go ahead, please. Don, go ahead, please.
Well,
Or
maybe
John.
you should target certain voting populations, kill them off, and then we ensure re-election.
So you're saying the bailout money is all going to corporations and no regular worker gets any money out of this?
Right.
That's what the stimulus package is voting for. Go ahead, John.
You're saying the $3,000 per family. You're saying that none of that goes to them. That all goes to the corporations also.
We're not saying that,
First of
John.
all,
Well, that's what you said.
John,
You
what
said
do you
it's supposed
think?
to bail out the corporations. This money is supposed to go for the people, and you're saying that's not going to them.
Not $500 billion. $500 billion is going to corporations. Sight unseen.
yes, exactly.
We won't even know what corporations for at least 6 months. Who got the money? By this time, it's gone. They should, if they get bailout money, they should be paying it back at the old rate of 3.5% instead of 0.25%.
Well, if you have 320 million people, then $3 per person would be $1 billion. So 3 times 500 would be $1,500. So you've got that money also going to the people. And if there's no corporations, if there's no companies left, you have no airlines, you have no restaurants, you have no hotels. How those businesses, if it's always shut?
I'm filming part 2 later. Thank you for listening.